Imagine accepting the CIO job at Facebook right as the social media network was about to take off. Now imagine that your first task is to fix a complex calendar system that is causing headaches throughout the company. And, oh, by the way, if you can't do it, you're fired. That was the scenario Tim Campos found himself in, but don't worry because, spoiler alert, he was able to figure it out. On this special 2-part episode of IT Visionaries, Tim joins us to share that story and so much more, including how he leapt from Facebook to his own startup, what it means to be a CIO, the importance of integration and mentorship, and even a few stories about Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg. This is part 2 of Tim's interview. This podcast is sponsored by the Lightning Platform by Salesforce. Salesforce just introduced the Lightning Platform Mobile, the low-code mobile app development platform that empowers anyone to easily build, publish, and manage AI-powered mobile apps for employees and for customers. Find out more at salesforce.com/buildmobileapps.
So where are we going to be in 5 years? I know you can't read the crystal ball and say where Woven will be in 5 years, but where do you anticipate that people will be with how their calendar works in their daily life?
I don't want to read the crystal ball. I want to make the crystal ball.
No, that's a great point.
I want to give people something completely new and valuable for them. But our vision is to help people take command of their time and spend it on the things that matter most to them. And we will accomplish that when we have stitched the calendar or woven the calendar, to forgive the pun, with all of the things that they spend their time on. And, you can imagine that if I'm in a meeting and I take pictures of the whiteboard, why is it that those pictures can't automatically just be associated with that event? I already know that I'm in the same place that the meeting is supposed to be, and I took these pictures at the exact same time. That's a small example of how, you can stitch time together to connect, little bits of information. Or if I'm inside of my tool that I use for taking notes or action items, again, why can't I just have that now associate with my calendar using an extensible UI that makes it easy for me to see that, these notes apply to this meeting and share those with the other people that I'm meeting with. We will make the calendar smart by giving it this information so that it can start doing some work for people. Like the next time I have a board meeting, right? I can bring my previous action items into the board meeting so I can tell my board members exactly where we are on all of those issues. I have the place now to put the board deck so that they know, what it is that we're going to be talking about. When I go in to interview a new candidate, I should be able to, the calendar should know who this candidate is. It should automatically connect them to my LinkedIn profile so I can see how well do I know them, who else in the company has met with them. These are things that are well within the capability of technology today that, as we stitch this stuff together, will make the calendar a more central part of people's lives.
Well, and if it's the single source of truth, that is what is so exciting. Because me and my girlfriend joke about I've now started tasking her with putting things on my calendar, and vice versa. She's tasked me with putting things on her calendar. So I'm at this point, if it ain't on there, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that when you look at, especially with media as a media company, when you look at how exciting it is, hey, new episode IT Visionaries is out, and it pops onto your calendar for, when you normally listen to the show on your ride home from work or whatever it is. There's just so many integrations that I think are really exciting. And then also the idea that calendars are everyone sees the same thing, but the idea that for my calendar invite, it shows me all the stuff that I need for the interview, and for the candidate, it shows what they need to see for the interview.
Exactly.
But you're not sharing a Google Doc with somebody that you're interviewing or whatever it is.
Yeah. So you've got the vision right there.
I know.
Some of the stuff we already have. So
I'm here for it. So I'm definitely here for it. Let's get into some Facebook stories. I want to hear the good stuff. So what was the questions that were asked when you're in your interview process, or the weird ones?
One of them, I was already a CIO. I'd been a CIO for KLA-Tencor for almost 7 years by the time Facebook interviewed me. And I remember I came in, and I think it was my third or fourth interview was with one of the engineering managers in the company. And I sat down, and he started asking me questions about technology. And, at first I was like, this is cool. This is fun. I like to talk about technology. He was asking me how, block compression works and how databases are built and things like that. And these are problems that I hadn't thought of in years.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the conversation. And then he's like, okay, so we're going to build a hypothetical application. We're going to go build a coupon application. And I want you to like describe the data structures that we need for this coupon application. I want you to give me the entity relationship diagram for this coupon application. I want you to write some SQL to help me understand how we're going to apply a coupon to any arbitrary SKU in our catalog. And I had to write all that stuff. I had never been asked this stuff, as an executive. But it was a lot of fun. I relished in this, and I'm not sure that my SQL was totally accurate, but it was close enough. I'm pretty sure that it was probably better than any other CIO that they'd talked to up to that point, and that's part of how I got the job. But that was one of the weird things. Another one was my interview with Zuck. That was really interesting for me. So I remember it was my first time meeting with him. As I said earlier, I had been studying Facebook in business school in one of my entrepreneurship classes. And so to that point, Mark Zuckerberg was like a fictitious character in a case study. He wasn't a human. He wasn't a person. And so I was really curious, is this guy lucky or smart? And, Facebook at the time, like I said, it wasn't that big of a company, and it wasn't yet a tech behemoth.
And you have the video of the one where he has the keg cup and he's like, I don't know if Facebook ever needs to get any bigger or whatever, right?
Right.
So you're also, I'm sure that that sort of stuff is informing you're going into this. Like, what is?
So, the first 5 minutes of the conversation was me sort of getting over the fact that I was talking to Mark Zuckerberg. One of the cool things about the conversation was, he really made an effort to make me feel at ease, right? It's like, I'm sure he gets that from time to time. And he gave me the 5 minutes I needed to sort of get over myself. And we then had a fairly real conversation about the company, about the culture. He asked me what I like about Facebook. And I told him that the thing that really blew me away was the culture of the company. And, we had a little debate on the importance of culture. We had a little debate on technology. And through this, it was like sparring, right? And what I got out of this was he was lucky, but also ridiculously smart. I could tell. That carried forward into all my subsequent interactions with him. One of the things that I saw about Zuck in that first interview, and definitely experienced in meetings that I have with him, he's like a sponge for information. He wants to learn. He wants to understand. And he wants to hear the things that may not be what are either comfortable to say or which are, comfortable for him to hear. Like, he wants the tough stuff because that's where he sees the greatest insights and learnings are. And that was really endearing for me. I wanted to work in an organization that valued that, and to see that he was that kind of person, despite the fact that this is the first time I'm ever going to work for somebody who's younger than me. Yeah. That just sold me.
Any good Cheryl stories?
Yeah. The time where I was most impressed with her was after her husband died. So she took some time off, as she should have. And then when she came back, I think it was like 4 or 6 weeks later, she was incredibly open about what she was going through.
Yeah, she wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And I saw the beginnings of that. And it was basically she didn't want people to sort of guess or to try to comfort her without knowledge of what was going on with her. So it was easier for her to just be fully open and transparent. But it also fit into a general leadership theme that she had, which is that, when leaders are open and vulnerable, they are more endearing. It's easier to follow them than if they put a persona up that they are these perfect, infallible people. And she was anything but perfect in her own words through this. She would have moments where she would, clearly be struggling emotionally, but she was real. I don't know what the right word is, but it was inspiring. It made you really want to work for her. And that was a really amazing thing to see.
Yeah. You read like Hard Thing About Hard Things, the way that Ben Horowitz dealt with some of the things that he dealt with in his time, like as a CEO, as like dealing with a lot of stress. And then like, things happen in people's families. I was in the military, obviously it's something where there's really bad stuff, catastrophic stuff happens to people's families. And it's when you're a leader, like you can't plan for that, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't plan for the exact event that happens, but what you can do is like prepare yourself and be empathetic that when things like that happen, you have to approach things in the right way. And when it's you, there's no way that you could have ever dealt with that. And like, that's the thing that's like, that story is insane. And just to be able to have that type of command over yourself is just, it's freaking impossible. And like, I agree. It's just so inspiring to think about, like, similar but different. But we had Marissa Myron here on the podcast, and it was another thing where like, these people are celebrities. Like they're literal celebrities. Like Zuck and all the Cheryl and Marissa and all these people are celebrities. And like, they're under massive amounts of scrutiny all the time. And it's like the human side of the things of like, all the people that we have on the show, extremely brilliant people, are people at the end of the day that are trying to figure out the best way to do things. And I think that there's so much like gotcha nature of we want to write, the stupid article, blog post that, tears down somebody for how they dealt with something in their life. And it's like, have some freaking compassion. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'll give you a couple fun stories about the two of them that go to humility, which is not characteristics that are given, at least in public forums, to Zuck and Cheryl. But, Zuck used to live, when we worked in Palo Alto, the campus was in Palo Alto, he used to live across the street from the 1601 California office. And even back then, people would come to Facebook as tourists to go take their picture in front of the Facebook sign, which was tiny at the time.
That's funny.
And
I see it every day on my way to work, by the way. Every single day I see people on one HackerWay, right?
This huge thing, which they've created a parking lot nearby so that you can park there to go then walk over and take your picture. But back when we were on California Avenue, it was not nearly as exciting. And it would not be uncommon for Zuck to walk out, and people would be taking their picture in front of the sign, and they would come up to him and they'd say, "Oh, excuse me. Would you take a picture of us?" And they would not know who the hell they just asked to take a picture of them in front of the Facebook sign. And he would be like, "Sure, fine, no problem."
Yeah.
With Cheryl, I'm on the board for this organization called Europe, YEARUP.
I know Europe.
Awesome, fantastic organization.
Yeah, really cool.
And in our second class of interns, there was a guy that was just doing a fantastic job as an intern. And he was really inspiring to me. And I felt like I wanted to give back to him what he was doing for me. He was helping to validate for me that this kind of organization can produce an exceptional set of talent.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give to him both a thank you for his internship, but also, hey, you're going to make it in this world. You've got an opportunity. So I called up Cheryl and said, "Hey, would you mind meeting with this person?" And she made time in her schedule to meet him on his last day as an intern. And we took a picture. She had a little bit of conversation with him. This gentleman's name is Jay Hammonds. And if you Google him, you'll see that he was awarded last year the Forbes, one of top 30 under 30 individuals. He subsequently got a job at Facebook, became part of the help desk and then the VIP support team supporting Mark and Cheryl, became Cheryl's personal IT liaison. So spent a lot of time with her. And, in that role, he's been able to be a beacon of hope and inspiration for other Year Up students that, this is real, this is possible, this can happen. I mean, this is a guy who was like one step away from a very destructive life. And through this program, through this internship, through his own hard work and dedication, and through support from people like Cheryl, has become just a phenomenal story, success story. And she gave him that time, and she didn't have to do it. She very easily could have said, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. This is not important to me. But she was always available for stuff like that. And it didn't matter, I didn't have to tell her that this is going to be some press opportunity for you. And it wasn't, right? This was just about Jay and what was right for Jay. But she made the time for him.
Stuff like that is so cool. And I've been to, I think I was at the Year Up, one of the events or something like that. And you hear stories, especially of folks, I grew up in Oakland, a lot of people that I grew up with, it's like, you think that you're in the center of like technology, like around all this stuff. But I always tell people, like, I never went to Silicon Valley. First of all, I never called it that. And like, I never went, like, I went to one Cal Stanford game at Stanford. Like, that was it. Like, I never came down here. I stayed in the East Bay. And I think a lot of people just need someone to believe in them and to tell them that they can, do this thing and to get it supercharged. And it's just so cool that organizations like that have the ability to connect the dots on those things.
That's how I got my start. Not from Year Up, but I had somebody who believed in me and somebody who helped put a idea in my mind that I could accomplish more than what I was thinking I wanted to accomplish in my career. My first mentor when I
it's like you
graduated from Cal and went to work at Sybase, a guy by the name of Bruce Armstrong. And Sybase assigned Bruce as my mentor because he was one of the youngest VPs in the company. And they thought he would, that I would resonate with him, that he would resonate with me. And, he gave me this idea that like, not to like think, narrow or even myopically about my career, to think big and constantly be looking for, those opportunities to shine, to demonstrate capability and to grow. And if it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't be, where I am today. I mean, he's one of the people who's definitely had a huge impact on my career. But then I think about, I grew up a kid of a college professor, right? So, I had a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
These kids at Year Up, they didn't have that stuff.
Totally.
Yet, in many respects, I think they have better character than I did at the time, right? They have humility, they have grit, they have, a willingness to do whatever it takes in order to take care of others. Because in many respects, they haven't had a choice in their lives. And they're very inspirational when you get a chance to know these students. I definitely think that, if we can just inspire a few people in the world and they can inspire others, there's so many great things we can do.
Any was the worst of times at Facebook? Do you have any times where calendar went down or any stuff where it was
I'll give you
headaches?
Two stories there. One, there was one year that we were making some adjustments to data retention cycles and something went wrong and we completely corrupted Sheryl Sandberg's calendar.
Oh, that's so good.
The good and the bad thing was this happened like 2 days before Christmas. So the problem with corrupting her calendar is that she was the source of so many different meetings with different people that it wasn't just her calendar that was corrupted. It was like, hundreds of other executives' calendars who got corrupted as well. And I was very grateful for my team because they worked 9 days straight over the Christmas holiday to manually stitch everything back together to recover her thing so that when everybody came back from Christmas break, most people didn't know what happened. But it was just an absolute nightmare. And yet another example of how badly designed or how the use of calendars has grown well beyond the initial design of those systems. I think maybe the toughest time that I saw at Facebook was my last few months there. One, the company was starting to get really big. And that is really challenging to their culture. And that was creating some, not just friction, but basically Facebook was forced to become a different organization than it ever wanted to be when it was smaller because of size.
Yeah, totally.
Because not everybody's going to know everybody else. And that happened right around the election. And I think that was very much aggravated some of the reaction to the election.
Totally.
Because all of a sudden you had a large number of people who had a strong emotional reaction to what happened, to be quite frank, on both sides, right? You had some people who were like Trump supporters at Facebook who felt like they were being targeted and talked down to and things like that. And on the other side, you had other people who were really upset about the fact that Trump won and maybe Facebook politics had an impact on it. And so it just, all this then blew up into conversation that was occurring within the company at a time when the company hadn't quite figured out how to deal with its scale. And I thought that was a really, really challenging time. And it made it easy to leave. It was the right time for me to go off and do my startup. Not that I wouldn't have been willing to take on those kinds of challenges, but it was interesting to see that the company had basically crossed a threshold where it was going to have to start behaving differently.
Well, and I wanted to ask you something about Woven specific to that. You built in stealth for a while. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, we in part had no choice. Calendars are not easy things to build. There is a huge amount of technology that goes into calendars that we take for granted. Time is relative. It's not absolute. I mean, there is absolute time, but most of us operate in relative time, which means that 3 o'clock here is not the same as 3 o'clock in New York, which is not the same as 3 o'clock in Arizona, despite the fact that we were in the same time zone as Arizona. All this is because of things like daylight savings and time zone issues. And that really aggravates when you're trying to introduce intelligence. You have to be able to deal with all these different mappings. Even the language around time, humans speak in relative terms. Like, let's get together, after dinner tonight. There is so many different relative statements in that, after dinner, dinner is not at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We know that, but does the machine know that? Is it 2 o'clock? Is it 6 o'clock? Is it 7 o'clock? Tonight is relative to today. And so when you're dealing with anything around natural language processing for time, you have to really understand and deal with all these things. And then the APIs and the systems that we're interfacing with are, as I mentioned before, these are really old designs and architecture. So we needed to spend a lot of time just getting the infrastructure right, getting the foundation right, and didn't want to do that in an environment where we were telling everybody exactly what we were doing. So that was the predominant reason why we did that. We also, as every startup has, you start with some ideas about how you're going to take over the universe, and some of those ideas are wrong. And so when you're not public, it is a lot easier to make adjustments to those things than if you've gone out and you've written a bunch of blog posts and you've talked to the press and you've said, this is who we are going to be. Oh, now I'm changing my mind. X.AI, I think, has faced some of these challenges.
Totally.
And that's been really, really difficult for them. So I think it's actually a good tact for startups to think this way. And I'm actually glad that we made that choice.
Any fun new features before we get out of here?
Well, there's a couple things we just launched, so they will be fresh when, assuming this comes out in the next
due course.
In due course.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about some of the new text messaging interfaces that we've built. One of the truisms is that email is no longer the predominant medium for communication. You look at particularly millennials, my kids, they don't even like email. They don't want to use email if they can avoid it. But, even for some of us older folks, email is just one of many. We use Slack, we use Facebook, we use text messaging, we use all these different technologies. And calendars are not designed how do you schedule a meeting without knowing the email address of somebody else?
Yep.
And so we have just rolled out a new integration with iMessage that enables text-based calendaring, which we're super excited about and is going fantastically well. We've also, a big part of calendaring is planning, understanding how you're spending your time. And we've built some new analytics into our month view, which give you just quick, super easy to digest way of understanding how you're spending your time over a large swath of time. So both of those things just launched in the last few days. We've got some more stuff coming up that we're really excited about with some new simplified UX for the product. And then, where we're going next is deeper and broader integrations, making Google Hangouts a more integral part of the product, then getting onto Zoom, making Slack integration. Where we're ultimately going to be towards the end of the summer is not just about being a calendar with some amazing scheduling technology, but we will take full advantage of the collaborative capabilities that we built for scheduling to enable collaboration around the content and the purpose of meetings. And that's when I think people are going to start seeing the real long-term vision that of where we're going with Woven.
Next time, we got to get some stories around some of the integrations from the acquisitions, the M&A stuff, because we've had a few CIO stories about M&As that
Instagram was fun. WhatsApp was crazy. I
can't even imagine.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stories on the WhatsApp acquisition.
Yeah, we'll do that next time because we got to have you back. Let's get in the lightning round. These questions are fast and easy, just like the Lightning platform from Salesforce. You can go to salesforce.com/build mobile apps to learn more about building apps on the Lightning platform. Fast and easy questions. Tim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Number 1, what app are you using on your phone that is the most fun?
Ooh. Can I look?
Sure.
All right. Well, obviously Woven is number 1, but what I'm really enjoying right now is my new, I have a Withings watch. I'm big into time, right? So
yeah, no kidding. Right?
Withings helps me understand how well I sleep, which is a big thing that I care about. And I love the app. It keeps track of everything that I'm doing, from walking to running and swimming and all that. And so that's one of my favorites that are on there right now.
Hey, a guy I know that was really into time got sent to a desert, or got his plane crash and was on a desert island for a long time. I think that's the plot of Castaway, but never know. Make sure you bring a volleyball. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Kauai.
We get this all the time. This is like the 5th time. I just got back from Kauai, like 6 months ago, but what a great place.
Yeah, Kauai, fantastic. My father-in-law, I'm very lucky. He owns a house there, and it's in Hyena, which is not too far from the end of the road for those who know Kauai.
Yeah.
But it is the most beautiful of the Hawaiian Islands. There's so much to do there if you like the outdoors, hiking, sea kayaking down the Napali coast, the Kalalau Trail, like Waimea Canyon, all that stuff. Hanalei is gorgeous, artist village. The people there are just fantastic. And it rains a lot, which scares away, the dainty. It's not for the faint of heart. And so I love Kauai. I really miss it.
Favorite recent book or podcast that you've read or listened to?
It's a little bit of an older book, but I'm going through Sapiens right now, which I find fascinating. I'm very much a study of history, and it's really interesting to see particularly how humans differed, or Homo sapiens differed from other species of human beings back at the time. So that's an interesting one.
Favorite chatbot that you've seen?
Buoy Health. Yeah, for the hypochondriac, Buoy Health is really, really good.
Do you have a technology you're most excited about going forward?
5G.
How about your best advice for a first-time CIO?
That's easy. Go figure out what your role is. Understand and make sure that you don't ask your employees what your role is. You don't ask your customers what your role is. You go and ask the CEO what your role is.
What question do you never get asked that I did not ask you today that you wish you were asked more often?
how the hell did you end up marrying your high school sweetheart?
How did you?
I met my wife as a junior in high school at Berkeley High School. And we've been together ever since. We have learned both the challenge and how to overcome the challenge of the long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And, absolutely for my relationship with my wife and my family, this has been, one of the night and day things for me. This has definitely made my life more fulfilling. But it's also helped my relationships professionally. Like the things that I've learned in connecting with my wife have been things that I can use even in professional relationships.
I totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Long-term communication or long distance, critical to business, critical to life.
Yeah. Happy life, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, indeed. Well, everyone should check out Woven. You can go to woven.com. Anything else to plug? Anything else you got going on?
We release the product twice a week, and we are constantly, expanding the functional set of the product. We talk a lot about what's going on at blog.woven.com. So that's probably the best way to get insight on what we're doing. And yeah, we've got a few fun secret things that are coming out over the next couple of months, and I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully we get some people to check it out.
Yeah. And you can find Tim on the Twitters at @tcampos. So that's it. That's all we got.
All right.
Appreciate you coming on. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again to our friends at Salesforce. IT Visionaries is brought to you by the Lightning Platform by Salesforce. Salesforce just introduced the Lightning Platform Mobile, the low-code mobile app development platform that empowers anyone to easily build, publish, and manage AI-powered mobile apps for employees and for customers. Find out more at salesforce.com/buildmobileapps.